This is going to be a fun video. When you take a look at some of the better quality Chinese mechanical watches, you will find that they say that this is evocative of a 1950s or 1960s watch. Well, which watch? And what elements are they taking and what are they changing and kind of updating to? We're going to take a look. First thing, let's check out the good quality at very reasonable price mechanical watches by a company called MERKUR, M-E-R-K-U-R, coming out of China. This is one of the finer examples of this watch. Again, it is a mechanical winding watch, and it sells for $99. And it has a sister watch, which we'll take a peek at too. That's that watch. It is different. You'll notice that on the outside of the dial, it does not have the lowered height. That would be one thing that would be different between the two. Okay, you'll see that there's little dots around the edge of the watch. I will have you note there is a brushed portion here on the lug that is brushed, and they have an angle of about like that. Okay, now, what's this based on? Well, it's actually based on two watches. One of them, this looks pretty familiar, doesn't it? Well, pretty close, huh? Why? Well, they are different. It is kind of an homage watch, but you'll notice that this particular one has slightly pointed indices. Okay, but the overall impression of the watch is kind of similar to that. Now, I pointed out the lugs because you can see these lugs are much cut off straighter here. They don't have that angle. The lugs are straighter. And you have the numbers. Look at where they put the numbers, okay? They've got numbers at 12, 9, and 6. Well, what'd they do on the MERKUR? They're not. These side ones here, look, they don't mark 9. They mark 8 and 10. So they changed that. It has a thin crown up here, which of course is going to be different from the Seamaster. Has a much larger crown. But let's take a look at a 1958 Omega. And now you'll see that those indices, the little marky things that are between the numbers and the shaping of the case, is fairly close to what they did here. So, would you consider this an homage watch? Well, kind of. You know, overall impression is tasteful and nice on this. This is an old Omega. That's a 1951. Here's the modern MERKUR. Beautiful watch, really. And then you have another kind of a pie pan Omega Seamaster. Both of these, I should have mentioned, are Seamaster models, which are very highly regarded, very tasteful collectibles from Omega. And, you know, you have this watch, and then you have the salmon colored one. they're both beautiful watches. So kind of the point to this video is that, you know, when somebody says that it's kind of based on 1950s or 60 models watches, you do want to kind of try and find out, as a matter of curiosity, well, which models were they copying? And the answer is they didn't copy any of them exactly. There's a lot of differences in the brushing of the lugs. There's differences in the shaping of the face. And yet overall, you would find that we didn't see this in the pictures, but the crystals kind of arc around, and they're quite thick. And the reason is that back in the day, Omega was using not glass, not sapphire glass, not mineral glass, not K1 mineral glass. They were using acrylic, which they call acrylic crystal. Okay, it's acrylic. And shaping it in the way that they did. You know, one of the reasons was a Seamaster, you know, some of those models went up into space and they didn't want the glass to have any chance, the crystal, of breaking and shattering. That was part of it. It was a cost-effective material. But why is this whole thing of interest? Well, as you build your collection of watches, you're going to find that you're going to raise up in the pricing of the watches up to about $100 from 20 and 30 and 40, just because you get a lot more watch there and a lot more tasteful watch. So unless you're playing the game that I like to play of the very inexpensive digitals, you're going to be looking about $100 for a decent watch. And collectors typically gravitate towards mechanical action. Now, why would that mechanical winding be so popular? Well, there's some pragmatic reasons. First of all, if you have a quartz movement and the battery blows, it's going to destroy the whole watch. And you've probably had watches ruined when the batteries popped on the inside. And you know, you got to replace those batteries, and you're not going to be taking the battery out. A lot of times you can stop the action by pulling the stem out on a quartz watch. But I'm just saying that collectors move towards mechanical watches. And again, just to give you this manufacturer's name, MERKUR, this is on AliExpress. It's a very good grade of mechanical watch, and is sized about like the Omegas, although perhaps 1 millimeter wider, and the pricing is right. Why go with an homage watch like MERKUR? Those Omegas run $2,000 to $2,500 for a decent watch, and they need serviced every 2 or 3 years. And they're nowhere near as reliable as a new watch in terms of a long period of time of service. So that's one issue, but mainly it's the bread, the cash outlay. You're talking a lot of money to get your hands on a pristine condition Omega Seamaster. And those aren't the priciest watches on the market. So, you know, you're coming in at 1/25th the cost with a usable watch that has a nice look, and that's why these things do well. So anyhow, I thought that you would enjoy this video on what does homage mean. You really need to go look at the models and decide what did they take from where, but you couldn't pick a better watch to pattern yours after, or at least taking some of the ideas, than the Omega Seamaster, which is really a gorgeous, gorgeous watch. But you're going to pay for a gold one, and that's gold plate. It won't be solid gold. For a used one, about $2,500. It's in perfect, very good condition by a watchmaker that knows how to keep these things running, which is probably what you'll want to do. So $100 versus $2,500, you do the math.